So that's my list. Let me know what you think of these 5 time travel board games in the comments below. Also, let me know your favourite board game that involves time travel in the comments so they can go from your past to my future. Remember to like, share and subscribe for more board game videos like this one. I've been Rob, aka Jesta ThaRogue, and I'll see you soon.
Number 3.
Necessity is the mother of invention, but invention is also the mother of invention. In Legacy Gears of Time, players are rival time travellers from the year 2101, racing back through history to secure key inventions before anyone else can claim them. If you control the invention of gunpowder, the printing press or steam engine, you'll eventually rewrite history to your advantage. Each turn you send agents to different time periods trying to be the first to secure a specific invention. Once an invention is claimed, it can influence later technologies, creating chains of progress across the timeline. Technologies come in different states. Fundamental technologies such as basic science or fire may only cost 1 or 2 cards from your hand to play but are only worth 1 to 2 points. Advanced stuff such as spaceflight costs 4 cards but gains you 12 points if they are successful. And for spaceflight to be successful, flight has to be earlier in the timeline and have all its prerequisites complete. Easy. Also, telescope needs to be earlier in the timeline, have its own prerequisites fulfilled, obviously, and the combustion engine needs to be earlier than flight with its prerequisites filled, of course. Oh, and the basic science needs to be earlier than flight. The wheel and fire need to be earlier than the combustion engine. And finally, basic tools needs to be earlier than the telescope. Simple. Not to mention, whoever owns those other technologies will score points for piggybacking off of those future technologies. You can influence an earlier invention to try and take control of it, so there's a majority to control on top of the hand management. It's the heaviest game on the list, and it's also the most timey-wimey brain-burny. Of course, most time travel stories aren't about inventing things, they're about trying to prevent a catastrophe. And that's the issue. I haven't played Anachrony and people are going to want it to be on the list. It's rated as the top 100 games of all time. Yeah, so there's a meteor or something heading towards Earth-style planet and you have to collect the most points in many, many different ways to win. It's worker placement, so you send your workers internally or in mechs that you need to power to send them outside the board to gain resources and do stuff. You can go back in time and do things as well. But the cool thing is that you can grab resources from the future, but once you get to that point in time, you need to then return those resources, because if you don't, they're not there to take from in the past. So you create a paradox. It's a Minecraft game, so it's heavy. It's rated 4 out of 5 weight on Board Game Geek, so it has a lot going on. Hope to play it one day in the future. Get it? Future. At least this one's affordable secondhand.
Number 5.
If we're going to mess with the timeline, we need to make sure we have a way to undo what we've done. In the Undo series of games, you play as mysterious beings known as the Weavers, who exist outside the normal flow of time. Your job isn't to change history in huge dramatic ways, just nudge a few events in order to prevent someone's death. The game will present you with this tragedy, then send you back in time to find out what you need to do to prevent it. The theme is very narrative driven. Each scenario is essentially a short story where you uncover moments of a victim's life, sometimes decades apart, and decide which events to alter. The game is about deduction and decision making. Players move through key points in time, revealing story cards that explain what happened in that moment. At each point, you choose whether to intervene or leave events unchanged. Each choice reveals a card with a score. At the end of the scenario, the game reveals if the score is good enough, what actually caused the tragedy, and whether your interventions successfully prevented it. And the challenge is you don't know the full story when you're making those choices, so every decision is a bit of a gamble. It's less about strategy and more about piecing together somebody's life story and deciding what you need to change. And the stories themselves, while well written, are quite depressing at times. It's a non-replayable choose your own adventure with extra steps you can't play solo, so it's low on the list. Stopping one tragedy is one thing, but rewriting an entire timeline is another thing altogether. Eventually things start to get a lot more complicated. The Loop is another one. Now I haven't played it. Let's have a look at this one. A quirky cooperative time travelling strategy game where 1 to 4 players become temporal agents working together to thwart the evil Dr. Foe, a mad scientist creating chaos across the space-time continuum. I mean, it sounds like my kind of game. It definitely looks like my kind of game with its pretty colours. So players control different characters and move around the different eras of the board. You drop off cubes in that plastic thing in the middle and it distributes them out randomly. I think if 4 cubes end up in one era, it creates a rift, and too many of those happen, you lose. And it looks like you have to complete 4 of those missions around the outside of the board before one of those different endgame conditions hits, or you all lose. Well, I would. It sounds great, but it's out of print, and have you seen how much used copies are going for now? I need to get next week's lottery numbers just to get one second hand.
Number 2.
Ever get that feeling you're stuck in the same day over and over again? In Tragedy Looper, players are trapped inside a repeating time loop trying to prevent a terrible disaster from occurring. One player takes the role of the mastermind, secretly controlling the events of the town, while the other players are protagonists attempting to uncover the truth. The theme feels a bit like a mystery anime or a supernatural thriller. Something terrible is going to happen, a murder, a ritual, or something else, and the protagonist must figure out how to prevent it before the loop resets. The core mechanism is deduction through repeated timelines. Each loop lasts a set number of days and players place characters and influence events while trying to gather clues. When the tragedy occurs, the timeline resets and the protagonists start again, but this time they've got a bit more information. The main rule is simple but powerful. Every loop reveals information. Players gradually learn which characters matter, which events trigger disasters, and how to prevent them. The real challenge is solving the mystery before the mastermind manages to steer the timeline towards tragedy again. Players have limited communication once a loop has started, so while you're doing it together, you're also doing it fairly silently. As players, you're trying to find out the characters' roles and use the sheet you have to work out which main plots and subplots are in play. It's pure deduction on the investigator's part and pure misdirection from the mastermind. Of course, when things go wrong on the timeline, sometimes help comes from places that maybe shouldn't exist. Oh yeah, that time you killed me, the two-player abstract narrative game. I've heard of that one. You're both rival time travelers trying to erase each other from history, right? You use time travel to find your enemy in time and murder them before they murder you. The joke being that you've both copied yourself across the timeline, so you have to kill each other over and over. It sounds fun. Is it a family game? Check this out, see if you understand this. So there are 3 boards in the past, present and future. It says, on a turn, choose a single copy of yourself, then take 2 actions with this copy, with actions being movement to an adjacent orthogonal space, time travel forward to the next board, or time travel back to the previous board, leaving a copy of yourself in the current location when you do. That sounds like a head scratcher, like that tri-dimensional chess on Star Trek. It says here that under the basic rules you murder a copy of your opponent by pushing them onto the wall of the game board. It looks weird, sounds interesting, it's not for me. That's the second one you brought up that's not for me. Or at least I think it is.
Number 4.
Undo is about changing things from the outside, now we're going to delve right in there. In Chrononauts, players are time travellers jumping through the timeline of the 20th century, deliberately changing historical events to reshape reality. The theme is playful alternate history. What if the Titanic never sank? What if someone had prevented the Hindenburg disaster? Every change ripples through the timeline, creating completely new versions of history. It's a card game about altering historical events. A timeline is laid out on the table, and players can change key moments using cards. When an event changes, it can affect several other points in history, creating paradoxes that must be repaired before the timeline collapses. Each player also has a secret goal representing the alternate reality they're trying to create. The core rule is that every historical change has consequences. Fixing paradoxes, controlling events, and nudging the timeline towards your preferred version of history is the heart of the game. It's chaotic, silly, and all about seeing how strange history can get when everyone is meddling with it. It's fun to make a seemingly small change in 1920, only to have a big change in the events of 1990, for example. It's from Looney Labs, so it does have that random flux energy, but it also has that flux fun factor. Of course, when you start rewriting history, it leads to a big question. Who actually invented anything in the first place? I thought of one I keep saying I'm going to buy. Ghost of Christmas, have you heard of it? It's based on the Christmas Carol. Wait, what did you call me? Oh, yeah, Charles Dickens, that's the one, yeah. So you bid on how many tricks you think you'll win at the start of the game, and you track your bid, and each time you win a trick by placing wreaths on doors, which is really cute. You play tricks in the past, present and future at the same time, one card at a time, following suit where you can, depending on the suit of the card first played in that trick, if it has one. Oh, and all the tricks have a card from each player, you score them in order, past, present and then future. And the cool thing is, if you can't follow suit, you can play any card of a different suit as normal, right? But as you don't know who the winner of the previous trick is until all the cards for that trick are down, you might win the previous trick, making your off-suit card now the new lead suit, and you win. It sounds like a brain burner. I've got no idea how you make a successful bid. I'd be terrible at it. In fact, it's given me indigestion. Well, that could be these crisps.
And now, number 1.
Okay, my number 1 will be number 1 on most people's lists, I think. In Time Stories, players are agents working for a futuristic organisation that protects the timeline from dangerous distortions. When something threatens history, your team is sent back in time to investigate and fix it. The theme blends science fiction with historical adventure. Each scenario sends players into a different time period, sometimes ancient history, sometimes far in the future where they inhabit characters living in that era. Mechanically, the game combines storytelling, exploration and puzzle solving. Players move between locations, interact with characters, gather clues and slowly uncover what has gone wrong with the timeline. Actions are taken with dice, and time advances for certain actions on a die roll, meaning each run has different levels of discoverability and luck. The defining rule is that the time is limited. Each mission is played in runs, and when your time runs out, the timeline resets and you start again with the knowledge you gained. Success usually requires multiple attempts, with players learning what works, and also what doesn't work, so they can solve all the problems before the timeline collapses again. Each unsuccessful run earns you a scathing speech from Bob. Everyone hates Bob. It's essentially a co-op investigation where every reset makes you a little smarter about what you're going to do next time. Dead ends are ignored, shortcuts used, and your time is used more efficiently on each run. Part choose your own adventure, part escape room, Time Stories is a very fun co-op that uses time travel well. I can't use chopsticks. Got one. Oh, hello. Hi, yeah, I've just finished recording my top 5 board games that have time travel in them, or something. I'll think of a better title. Because I haven't played 10, I've only got 5 I could think of, otherwise it'd be a top 10, wouldn't it? No, I haven't played Temporum, never heard of it. Let's take a look on BGG. In Temporum, the board shows the possible paths history can take and the actual path it currently takes. On your turn, you can change history, travel through time and visit a point in history. I see, so you move your meeple around these cards in the timeline, taking the action on those cards, changing the timeline as you go. You also play cards for additional actions and store points. And I think points are basically like movement points. You move these crowns down this track and you get to the end and you win. I don't know why it's moving crowns on that track. You brought the game up. I'd never heard of it till just now. I mean, it's a good idea, I guess. It's not for me. Have we talked about this one already? Hey, I'm Rob from JestaThaRogue.com, and these are my top 5 games that use time travel. All spoiler free, of course. Now, I did consider making this a top 10 by crowbarring in the top 5 games that involve time travel that I haven't played, but I wouldn't waste your time. What doesn't take a lot of time is to click subscribe for more top 10 videos like this one. Right, let's mess with the timeline. They are fiery hot. Yes, with chopsticks. I need the practice. I still suck. I hope I don't get indigestion.